What's going on, world? AJ here, and today on AJ Tech we are talking about RAM. Stands for Random Access Memory. So as always, get yourself a memory. Just sit back, take some notes. Don't have to follow along with this one unless you want to tear apart your computer. And let's dive into the world of RAM. Random Access Memory, also commonly known as RAM, is pretty much a short-term memory for your computer, meaning it is temporary memory. It is not like your standard hard drives or solid-state drives that holds memory and stores memory. This is temporary. Short-term memory means it's going to forget it when you restart your machine. So it is a form of electronic computer memory that can be read and changed in any order, typically used to store working data and machine code. A RAM device allows data items to be read or written in almost the same amount of time, irrespective of the physical location of data inside the memory, in contrast with other direct access data storage media such as your hard disk and solid state drives. There are two types of form factors when it comes to RAM. There is a DIMMs form factor, which stands for Dual Inline Memory Module, mostly known as your RAM sticks. You know, your typical everyday RAM sticks that can be found in your desktop computers. But there's another one called SODIMMs, which is basically, you guessed it, a small outline dual inline memory module, which is smaller outline and thickness than the standard DIMMs, which is primarily designed for your notebooks and laptops. So they're going to be about half the size as this stick, made for those laptops and notebooks. When it comes to the standards of RAM, you have your DDR SD RAM, which is an acronym for Double Data Rate Synchronous Dynamic Random Access Memory. I have to read that. That's a lot of words right there. DDR transfers data to a processor on both the rising and falling edges of the clock signal, so twice per cycle. When it comes to the standards of your RAM, you have SDR, which is a 168 pins DIMMs. So basically just these types of sticks. Then you move into the DDRs. Now it goes from DDR to DDR5. So in today's common standards with computers, you got your DDR4s and DDR5s. There are still some DDR3s floating around out there, like the ones I have sitting here for examples. These are all DDR3s. And when you look at DDR3, for example, on these things, it gives you how many gigabytes it runs. So this one, for example, is a 2 gigabyte RAM stick, which isn't very much. But I do have a 4 gigabyte RAM stick here, which is pretty much your common standards. But 4 gigabytes anymore today isn't really enough. You want to, anymore, it's like your starts out with 8 gigs, and then you want to beef it up to 16 and 32. So those are pretty much the common standards anymore today, is with out-of-the-box laptops such as this one from the store. This starts out with 8 gigs, which that's common anymore. 4 gigs, it's like the bare minimums today. But continuing on with the label on the RAM stick, you got where it says 4 gigabytes, but then you also notice that there is 2 letters and a number. This says PC and the number 3 on this stick. PC stands for personal computer. If you guessed that correctly, congratulations. And the 3, that's the DDR. DDR3 is the stick. And then it follows by another set of numbers. That is your transfer speed per megabits per second. So for example, this transfers 12800 megabits per second for data transfers. And it's for a DDR3. So that's how you read the labels on there for your typical RAM sticks. Now I do want to point out one extra thing on here, because this RAM stick here in particular, right after the PC3, there's a letter that stands for L. That means low voltage. This is a low voltage RAM stick, which mainly is for portable devices. So if you have a device that's running a low voltage RAM stick, you will not be able to swap it out for a regular one, because it's just not going to be compatible for your machine. Sitting here on my lap is a desktop tower. So it's already cracked open. This is the old server, actually. If you remember my episode where I turned an old PC into a home server, well, this is the very PC. That's the new one back there. Well, it's recycled. It's the old desktop that was upstairs that's now going to become the server. We'll do a whole video on that. Don't worry. We're going to redeem that one. But as you can see inside of this machine, where do you think the RAM sticks are located? Well, they're going to be right here is the spot for the RAM sticks. Now this only has 2 slots for RAM sticks. I do have a tower that's upstairs that has 4 slots, so you can really beef that up if you like. But there is a way to figure out how much your computer can hold for RAM. There is a limit, and we're going to discuss that right now. In order to figure out how much RAM your machine can hold, there is a command you can run in PowerShell. Simply go to your search bar, because the search bar is your best friend, and just type in PowerShell and just open it up. It's basically another command prompt screen. Of course, if you're running Windows 11 and you hit this little drop down icon, you could go from PowerShell to command prompt to Azure Cloud Shell. And of course, I have my laptop, the other one has Linux on there, Ubuntu Linux command, so you can run, which is pretty sweet. But here's the command right here. You don't have to run as administrator for this one. You just simply just type in get-CIM INSTANCE space Win32 underscore physical memory array, and just hit enter. And there you go. Memory devices, physical memory, 2 slots available for it. Over here is your max capacity on how much RAM it can hold. That doesn't really tell you any gigabytes because this is in kilobytes. We got to do a conversion. And so, in order to do a conversion, let's do some math. Let me get my numbers up here real quick and get a calculator pulled up here. And basically what we're doing, we are to convert kilobytes to gigabytes by dividing the number that we see here, that is our max capacity number, by 1048576. And that will calculate to 32 gigabytes. There you go. That's how you do it. Another important area to figure out how much RAM is currently on your machine, simply right click on your taskbar down here, which you can check out my taskbar video, and just go into Task Manager. Task Manager will open up right here. We can go under the Performance tab right here. Right here is memory, that is your RAM. The max that it's holding right up here, 16 gigabytes is what's in this machine. This shows how much RAM you're currently using, which is 8.2 gigabytes. There's a conversion for megabits right there. What is available? 7.6 of resources left available. A lot of it's being used because I'm running the OBS Studio, so it's taking some resources. But like I said, if I continue to run on 8 gigabytes, it's going to really push its limits. So you want to make sure you get adequate RAM for your machine to do whatever it is you need to do on your machine, such as if you're doing videos and such, you're going to want more RAM. And that's going to help beef up the performance that you need. Taking a look inside the PC tower, as you can see, we got the RAM sticks located right over here. They are held by clips on each end that you can pull back to simply just eject the RAM stick. Try to get my finger over here while filming here. And it should just simply just pull out like so. So we can examine it right here, as you can see on the label. Oh geez, this is only 1 gigabyte, and it's a PC2 6400 on the megabit speed. So this is a DDR2 RAM stick, which this is from 2010 when we bought this tower here. So it's an older model, and it only has 3 gigabytes of RAM total whenever you run this thing. But back in the day, it was pretty good. It ran really well, and it actually still runs well. It's a lot slower today, but it does run pretty good still. But all you have to do is just, whenever you're putting RAM in, just make sure you put it in the slot correctly, all right? And line it up, and all you have to do is just push it down, but don't push down too hard. And you should just hear a click on the clips. There's 1 and there's 2. But like I said, you don't want to push it too hard, otherwise you may end up breaking it or crack the motherboard, and we don't want to do that. And it should be snugged in there and ready to go. And then of course you want to make sure you turn this thing off whenever you're doing this, and then reboot it back up and just ensure that the RAM sticks are loading properly. And that is your crash course lesson on RAM. Hope you guys learned something from this and took some good notes on this subject matter. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe out there and take care.